All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of LearnBiz The Podcast. I am Sandy B here with the lovely Lisa K Crawford.
Good morning.
Good morning. So today we're talking Slutty Vegan LLC's giveaway, the gift that keeps on giving. So we're asking the question because was looking at this story and trying to figure out some things about what does it mean to gift someone an LLC? Am I giving you a business or is it an opportunity? And if it is either one of those things, is it the gift that keeps on giving? Or is it like some will say, you're just giving them a liability, a debt, something that they're going to have to deal with. Good morning, Miss Maishan Denise. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Maishan.
We're testing out this early morning spot. And today we're talking business or not. So if I gift you an LLC, am I giving you a business? And we wanted to make sure that we had a little bit of context because this is a really interesting story, and I'm really looking forward to seeing like the results of it because Slutty Vegan is a very popular Atlanta, I guess you could call it food truck restaurant combination. They also travel to different cities. Their lines are wrapped around blocks and blocks and blocks. People have gone crazy. Oh, people are traveling from different places to experience the Slutty Vegan experience. And I'm thinking, Lisa and I, we might need to make a road trip. We might need to see what the hype's about. But she has an amazing business model and has grown astronomically in what I would call a short period of time in terms of what we see, because we never see the behind the scenes, right? We don't know, what the things are that, they've gone through and how long they've really been in the system. Yeah, you've heard of them too. Great. Gonna check them out next time I come down.
I want to know what's on the menu.
Look, their menu is really interesting, and I actually can pull up. Let me see if I can pull up their. I'll pull up their menu and we'll take a look. But wanted to look at this story because I saw it a while back, and I kept thinking to myself, "Man, Lisa and I need to do this story." So we're going to take a look at the Slutty Vegan LLC's giveaway. The owner of Slutty Vegan decided when she was giving a speech to a graduating class, which is her alma mater, that she was going to gift the whole graduating class an LLC.
Wow.
Now, reading some of the comments kind of gives me direction of some of the thoughts that people have. A lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, this is great. You're doing a great service to the community. But, I always can't help but think of the other comments that may pop up and what that brings to mind. Because from the entrepreneurship perspective, Lisa and I both know giving someone an LLC is a great idea.
Yes.
But it also comes with a responsibility that many may not really clearly understand. I can speak for myself in saying when I became an entrepreneur, I had no clue what was going to be in my hands in a year, 2 years, 3 years, because the moment that you start that LLC and you register that tax ID and you start to operate, there are some automatic responsibilities that kick in. Most don't recognize it. Most don't even read the paperwork, right? We sign up for the LLC. We get the tax ID. It has all kinds of costs and issues that we have to be aware of. And most of us aren't even looking at it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out later. It's kind of the attitude with a lot of people. We'll figure it out as we go.
and this point that you make, Maishan Denise, is important. I think a lesson in how to obtain an LLC would be better. So here's what I'm curious about, because she says something in her speech that makes me think there's more to it than just the gift. So that gives me some hope. And I'm hoping that there are some things that are going to be infused because she teams up with a bank to do this gift. So I think it must be part of some kind of grant or program or something more than what we're thinking. But, we got to always look at the other side of these great events. So let's go to this gift of the LLC and take a look at what is being said here. So let me try to maneuver myself and be like a YouTuber. So let's watch this little story here.
We have volume.
Uh-oh.
Any volume, Sandy?
You're not hearing it?
I'm not.
Uh-oh, is it having some issue?
I don't hear the volume.
Let me see if let's try it again.
Okay.
I thought I had pulled it up right. All right, give me 1 second.
I'm sure you did.
I'm going to try to make sure my volume is as high as it could be.
Or maybe I should check my end.
She said no volume. Okay, so let's try this again.
All right.
All right. Y'all testing me today, technology. Okay, let's try this again. Tell me if you guys can hear it this time.
Clark Atlanta University graduates walked off stage
perfect.
with more than just their degrees on Saturday.
And I walked in as, a graduating senior. I walked out, as a business owner.
Commencement speaker and former CAU alum Aisha Pinky Cole offering them an opportunity to jumpstart their own dreams of being business owners.
I have partnered with Varo Bank to provide every single graduate in this audience with a new LLC and a path to entrepreneurship.
So in thinking about what she's saying, if she's partnering with a bank and she's going to provide an LLC to each person, there's going to be an interesting mechanism to get this done because, to do the LLC registration, there's a little bit of a process. So I don't know if the bank is going to be doing it for them or they have a fund. This is something, that would be interesting to find out. And my Chandani says she loves her passion. I absolutely do, because I think because she is an entrepreneur and, this is her alma mater, this is a great opportunity for her to allow people to do some of the things that maybe the dollar sign would prevent them from doing. And so I imagine that there may be some other things that she's going to incorporate with this gift. Let's see what else she says here.
Coretta Cannon was one of roughly 800 students gifted an LLC or limited liability company.
Truly was a blessing. It was a shocking blessing, but it's just like, whoa, wow. I'm a business owner now.
Her parents, Desiree Dick and Paul Cannon, were in the audience, awestruck at what they heard.
I was just overwhelmed, filled with joy. I felt blessed. I felt honored just to have that happen to not just to my child, but to other children as well.
Now she's gifting 800 LLCs. And according to what they said in one of the other articles I saw, it costs like about $100 in Georgia to register a business. It's just an interesting thing. She said, my Chandani says, I would assume the bank is getting a great benefit in doing this. Absolutely, because I would see that they could potentially open their business account with the bank. It's an opportunity for them to show that they're doing some kind of community giving. That's a lot. I had someone open my LLC. It's easier. Yeah, I did too. My initial LLC. Actually, no, I did my initial one. The one for my law firm, I did have someone initially open our LLC, and it was easier to me because it was like, just give them the information and they took care of it. So, it's a lot of great things in this story. And I'm looking forward to my Chandani's covering this story, because her coverage of stories is always, it really, really makes me think about different issues. So I'm looking forward to that. And we do need some positivity and all kinds of things in our community. You already know this. CRA value for the bank. I believe so. I definitely believe that the bank is getting a great benefit from this kind of program.
Afford the youngsters, new graduates, an opportunity like that right out of college. It's amazing.
Cannon tells Fox 5, as an aspiring elementary school teacher, she's not completely sure how she'll use her LLC, but she doesn't take it for granted.
So this is one thing that came to mind when I was listening to this. This is 800 and something students. What if 50% of them just decide, I don't have a business idea. There's nothing really I can do with that. I'm wondering if there are some alternatives to this gift, like if there's some other things that they maybe will put them through, because I would hate for people to miss out on the opportunity. I think having a business is something that not everybody can really do, but I think it's a great opportunity for people to learn important lessons. What do you think, Lisa?
I do too, definitely.
Especially at an early age, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Coming out of college. Yeah. I'm excited about, seeing so many young people excited coming out of college and having an opportunity to start a business when someone just hands you that opportunity kind of like, a gift. So I think it's really great. And if you weren't inclined to think about going into business, you'll probably at least think about it and say, what can I do with this? And I think that's good.
Awesome.
Even if there isn't a way like that I could think of right now, I know I'm definitely going to use the CAU motto, find a way or make one, and use it in my future. Truly grateful, for real.
It costs about $100 to purchase an LLC in the state of Georgia. That's $100 that these students won't have to worry about. In Atlanta, Joy Dukes, Fox 5 News.
Oh boy. So,
Great story.
It's
I
really
love it.
interesting, to go through these experiences and learn a little bit about what people are out here doing. So a lot of little things came to mind because I started, you got to read these little comments and see what people have to say. So when I started to read the comments, of course, there were a lot of really positive comments.
Oh no, don't tell me we're getting to hateration here. Come on now. Come on. This is just a great thing. There could be nothing bad about it, right?
Well, I'm going to ignore the hater comments. What I'm going to read are a couple of comments that I think, I think it's important for us to look at the different sides of this issue. So one comment says, that's great, but I'm confused. Gifting an LLC. I was a business owner and I'm not sure how this will pan out. Now, here's where some of my, my critical thoughts about this are. Yes, you can gift someone an LLC, but without the proper supports, that really could be a detriment to somebody. Now, I'm not saying that that's a across the board issue. I'm just saying it's a tricky thing. It has two sides to it. Yes, it's an amazing gift. It actually shows someone interested in supporting the community, and giving them the gift of opportunity is beyond.
Yes.
But as we both think back to our initial start when it comes to entrepreneurship and the processes that we went through and the things that we didn't understand and the things that we learned the hard way, that's one of the challenges. And I'm glad my Sean Denise is saying this here. She says they don't have to accept the gift. And my hope is that if someone blatantly doesn't want to do this, that they just say, you know what, I really don't want to. And maybe they'll offer that opportunity to other students at the school. That would be a great thing. Mm-hmm. The other thing too is I really hope people take advantage of the resources, because if she's teaming up with a bank, it would sound to me like there would be some kind of process that they're going to go through. They may have to go through a program or something. And that would mean to me some education, because I don't see a bank teaming up with a process like this without there being some kind of financial literacy, something to educate them. Because, what would the bank want from here is, the business. They have the potential.
They want the business bank accounts. So they're going to help the people open up their business bank accounts, because, let's face it, if you're in business, you're going to need a business bank account.
Yep.
You're going to have an EIN number to get that bank account set up. And then, either these young people, because they've made it through college, they have enough savviness to, navigate like we did as young entrepreneurs in business. But there is something to be said for doing it correctly, which means finding out all the components that you need. The question is, do they have all the pieces? Do they have the money? They may not. They may have to piecemeal their businesses, but go ahead and get them together. I'm okay with that, because a lot of us had to start business that way. There were no perfect models, and the last, I dotted and the last T crossed just perfectly before we opened up our business. It didn't happen that way for me. So I'm okay with this real life approach to getting into business.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. My Sean Denise says anyone who's not interested should say no, but this gives students an opportunity, and absolutely to the financial literacy. Like, if I'm teaming up with a bank, I would imagine that there would be some resources in play. The other thing I was thinking about, and some of these comments are really just congratulations, awesome. Someone says, nice if you want to file an extra tax return each year. Best to study what tax liability situation is best for your particular business before committing to it. Maybe that's the idea, a gift of homework. And honestly, that's not a bad gift. If your gift is actually giving someone some education and experiences, imagine some of these students are 20, 21, 22, 23.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I wish I had learned those in my 20s. I didn't really learn this stuff until my late 20s, early 30s. And by then, you just kind of go through certain motions thinking that you can just make some money. And then after law school, same thing. I didn't have two shoestrings to rub together. I started my firm with everything virtual, no real resources, had no cash on hand, just knowing that I had knowledge and a laptop. That's it.
Right.
And I was going to make the money off of the knowledge that I had and the experiences that I had. And that worked for a bit of time. So it's just a challenge kind of building up on that.
One thing somebody mentioned about the taxes, I totally agree with that. So the number one thing is what type of business formation. As you know, we went through that in our Entrepreneur Mindset Summit. We talked about that, the type of businesses that you can start. So that's going to be a big piece of that first education. And then you have to understand the tax ramifications for whatever type of business model. So
Right.
I don't know where these young people might get that additional training,
Right.
but I'm assuming if this young lady will do what she did for these folks, that she will probably also try to put them in touch with maybe free resources,
Right.
so that they can get that type of training. So, and
Yeah.
just think of it, Sandy, how many folks are coming out of college these days going into corporate America? A lot of folks are coming out starting their own businesses anyway, because that's kind of what's going on.
Truth. And we can definitely all use more financial education, especially as back kids, students, young adults. I honestly wish we had more of these experiences in elementary school, middle school, high school, really
True.
teaching kids about what it means to start a business so that when they come out of school, if they have an idea, even while they're in school, if they have an idea, they can actually start a business while they're, in their prime years, and really learn some experiences.
Right. Like those charter schools. Remember when, you heard all this talk back in the day, how charter schools were competing with the public schools, and charters were offering specialized education.
Right.
Wouldn't it have been nice to have some young entrepreneur charter school that kind of teaches these young folks finances and financial education and setting up business lemonade stands or
Right.
whatever. I mean, that model, I think we need to learn that as young as we possibly can.
Right. I think there may be a couple down here that focus on entrepreneurship. I don't know if they specifically talk about it. They might focus on financial literacy.
Yeah.
But you made a good point about the whole structure of the business. One thing that's very important that I never realized when I first started was the fact that when you create an LLC, your entity doesn't have any status until you figure out what tax situation you're going to follow. So when you think about it, if you're a solo and you start an LLC, your LLC is kind of like a flow through entity. You're claiming that income and whatever it is on your regular tax returns. You're working with your accountant or your tax preparer, but you and the business are kind of one. You just get the protection of the LLC in essence.
Right.
But if you decide to partner up, you automatically are either going to be classified as a partnership or some other entity, depending on what you designate with the IRS. And automatically, if you have two people or more, the IRS is going to look at you technically as a partnership. And so you're going to have to do a different type of tax return than someone who is a sole member LLC.
Yes.
So that's where when this gentleman mentions the comment about, the extra tax return, if you're not careful and you think you're just going to start an LLC and you're going to tag on a whole bunch of people or you're going to form a group and not realize it, that's an automatic new expense that you're going to have. And partnership taxes could cost a couple $100s to a couple of thousands of dollars, depending on what type of monies are coming in and the transactions. All right. Our friend Doug is in the building.
Hey,
good morning,
Doug.
Doug.
Good morning. Hey, and not to mention, so you talk about the annual registration expense that you have when you start a new business in the state of Florida. Every year we have to pay these annual registration fees to keep these businesses in existence, or otherwise the state kind of eventually wipes these businesses off the book and shuts them down. So, you don't want to start an expense like that and not be able, or a business and not being able to maintain the expenses. So there has to be some insight, or you'll be like Sandy and I, you'll be learning as you go along. And I mean, we're here to try to help people with the curve that we didn't have in the very beginning.
And look, let me tell you something. When I learned about the tax man and how it doesn't matter if you don't owe any money on the business tax, that you really need to file the business tax, because when it comes down to it, let's say you start your business this year and you're like, oh, well, I didn't make any money, so I'm not going to file the business tax.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to do something next year. I didn't make too much money, so I don't need to file tax this year. Well, around your third year, you start to say, oh, I'm going to be eligible for certain types of funding and things like that. Well, guess what they're going to ask? For your past tax returns. Yeah. Guess what happens when you file those past tax returns? IRS will tack on the penalty and interest for the fact that you didn't file your tax return. Because when you get your tax ID form, it specifically says that you must file a tax return for your business, and you must do certain specific filings to report your income. So if it's zero, fine, they'll accept it. But if you go without filing and then you decide, oh, I'm going to file it now just so I can get all these old tax returns, guess what they're going to do? They're going to charge you the penalty and interest, even though you have zero liability. And I'm speaking of this from personal experience. So the tax man will get you.
Yes.
I would advise someone, and this is everybody's personal opinion, I would advise someone to sit with an accountant. Some of them will sit down with you for free, just to give you some basic understanding of what you're going to need, tell you what their fees are, so you can start to prepare yourself. Because if you're going to operate a business and you don't have a relationship with an accountant, you're going to have a problem.
You're going to have a problem. That's the number one friend you need when you start a business. If anything I've learned in business, my number one friend from Jump Street should have been an accountant. That's your buddy. That's your buddy in business, and you need that, and you can't really do without it. It's an expense.
Yeah.
But it's so necessary. I mean, we talked about this when folks were going for all that PPE money, right? Is that what it was called, Sandy?
I think, PPP.
The PP. Yeah. Folks couldn't get that money in a lot of in our communities because they didn't have their their accounting paperwork done. They didn't have their balance sheets. They didn't have their profit and loss statements. They didn't have their income and expense statements. And that hurt a lot of folks because they weren't in a position to go and grab the dough like some of those more established businesses or folks who did that planning and got that accountant early on in the business. So I learned a lot from that early in business that you can't really do without that accountant.
Yep. And my Sean Denise says her state hits them up twice a year for those, renewal fees and maintenance fees.
Where are you at, my Sean?
And she says, no point in owning a business if you're not filing taxes. My deductions are heaven for my tax liability. And that's actually true. People don't realize that the expenses of maintaining your business, like those annual tax fees, if you have to pay any registrations, business tax receipts, any expenses of upkeep of your business, you can get those deductions. So you may want to do it just because of that. So my Sean said, child, y'all should do a stream on all the people going to jail over those PPP loans. Man, them stories are so, I'm just like, all you had to do was set up a legitimate business, sir and ma'am. That's all you had to do. Then all you had to do was run actual payroll. You could have still bought your stupid Maserati and the other nonsense that these people are spending money on. You just needed to pay yourself as an employee and pay taxes and then follow rules. But instead, many of them created fake business entities, created fake tax documents, fake bank documents, or they might have had a legitimate business entity, but once they got that money, they completely took that money and spent it on nonsense instead of following the basic premise, which is payroll protection program. Keyword payroll.
Yes. I know someone out there who started a business during PPE times. And essentially their business was that they will help you get all your PPE paperwork done. And all you have to do is give them like 25% of the money when it comes in. And I'm like, really? You guys, it's just some people, they just go too far. Not thinking that the feds are coming after you at some point, but anyway, yeah.
Look, I'm so done with the nonsense that I've seen with this. But today we're talking Slutty Vegan LLC's giveaway, the gift that keeps on giving, and we have the question mark there because owning a business, becoming an entrepreneur, is a beautiful roller coaster of emotions, highs, lows. A great experience, especially for those who really want to work for themselves. Yes. I love it. It's a lot of highs and lows, but I don't see myself turning back. I have not worked outside of being an entrepreneur for the last 7 years. That means I've been working to pay myself as a business owner for the last 7 years. I don't see myself going back. And there are a number of reasons. It's not just, I don't want to work for somebody. No, I actually enjoy the idea of crafting my own lane, yes, making decisions about how I want to operate, practicing law differently, being able to make changes when I want to make changes. So if I don't like a process that I'm using, I just change it.
Exactly.
If I want to change my fees up, down, in between, I just do it. If I want to hire, I do. If I want to contract, I do. If I want to take vacation, I'm on vacation next week. I'm out. Business will still be here. I got to put the, safeguards in place to make sure that someone can answer my calls. My paralegal can respond to certain case issues, check my docket, make sure that if the court is calling me that I'm not incognito. So, I just think that entrepreneurship is for certain personalities. Now, what I will say about entrepreneurship that is not my thing, this right here. The financial responsibility in terms of dealing with the accountant, dealing with payroll, dealing with the books, those things I feel are important that you pay a professional. Otherwise, you will suffer like Sandy did.
Yeah.
I've been doing my books for a long time until I realized, no, this is not my world.
Right. And I never, even though I started my LLC eons ago, I never really understood what my business was really doing until I looked at it on paper. Like you have business, you have activity, and you feel good about it. But to be able to analyze your business and be able to see where you are and where you're going or where you need to go, right, that is so valuable. I think, why do you think so many people discount getting an accountant early on?
I'm going to tell you the reason that I did. It was just lack of understanding the importance. I didn't realize that one of the major roles that an accountant can play in your business is getting you off to a sound financial place from the beginning. So if you are a service-oriented business, getting you in position so that you can receive money, that you can account for money, that you can get the appropriate discounts, that you can set up the appropriate tax category so that you can benefit from the proper tax savings, that you can actually build and grow your business financially sound.
Right.
And the other thing is understanding deadlines, because when I started, I didn't realize that there was a deadline for businesses to file their taxes versus the deadline for us individually. And if you miss that business deadline, you're really screwed.
And many businesses should be paying quarterly too. They should be paying quarterly taxes. And you get dinged when you don't do it right. The IRS dings you at the end. So yeah.
You know how many times I've heard entrepreneurs say, I just pay my tax at the end of the year. Well, you do realize that because you're doing that, they're tacking on certain things for all the stuff that you didn't file during the year. That's number one. And number two, there may have been tax savings that you can't take advantage of now because you're now paying the full tax liability at the end of the year versus working with your accountant to say, you know what, this is the type of work that I do. How do I protect myself from too much liability or too little liability?
Or knowing how much money to put aside out of every sale to put aside in reserve for taxes and that type of thing. I mean, just understanding those basic things, like trying to do it all. I should have been saving money the whole time for taxes. Well, guess what? I can't meet my tax burden now at the end of the year. So now I got to get on a payment plan. What? They're charging me interest for this? Are you kidding me? This is too much.
Let me
So
tell you.
these are all the things I found out the hard way. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Let me tell you that penalties and interest bill, I've seen that sucker exceed thousands. And that's just penalties and interest. That's not even just the tax liability to go with it. So, I think that people really need to be aware. And then the other thing is the importance of having an accountant. A lot of the importance of having your accountant also includes bookkeeping. So a lot of the accountants will have a bookkeeping service because they have bookkeepers on staff, but that's a separate service in actuality. So your accountant and your bookkeeper don't have to be the same, one and the same, but you also have to recognize that a bookkeeper is essential to you properly categorizing your income and expenses. Most of us don't understand how to do this. Many of us don't even do books until someone tells us, where are your books? And also understanding that even if you don't know, there's software out here that will allow you to keep track. And then at the bare minimum, when the year is over, you'll have something to give to your professional who can say, all right, here's what you made, here's what you spent.
Right. And not to mention, Sandy, that, what about those folks that may start that LLC that just graduated here and become instantaneously successful, like end up with like bukus of money such that they don't even know what to do with it? That could happen depending on, certain business models. And so then you're going to have to know how to manage that money so that you can continue to grow it and not squander it. And so a financial advisor or, a financial analyst or someone who can look at your numbers and do your projections and put money aside for your investments. These financial and accounting people, they are the key to really understanding your business and how your business can grow and how it can scale.
Yeah. And it's just, there's so many things that people need to be aware of when it comes to running a business. And it's just important for us to be able to do our due diligence. I'm really rooting for these students. I'm hoping that they get all the supports that they need. And they also take the time to do some research and some homework on their own. We were talking about the Slutty Vegan menu. Yeah. So what I decided was to see if I could just pull up the Slutty Vegan website so we could take a look.
Because you said her business is doing really well, right?
I mean, to my understanding, she's really bringing in a lot and she's expanding as well. Their focus is plant-based. So this whole Slutty Vegan. So they're taking a twist on vegan. They use a lot of the impossible meat, to my understanding, and they basically take all of their meals and slutify them. So they have locations in various spots of Georgia, and it's my understanding that they're working on other locations. Look at this: Brooklyn, New York, Birmingham, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia.
Expanding.
I know that they did a stop here in Florida, in Tampa once. I don't know if they'll do many pop-ups in Florida again, but if they ever do, I'll definitely check it out.
Wait, do I see bacon and hamburger?
Well, you're going to see something that looks like bacon and hamburger, but when you look at the ingredients, so for example, their one night stand says plant-based patty loaded with vegan bacon, vegan cheese, caramelized onions, lettuce, tomato, and our slut sauce on a vegan Hawaiian bun.
Wait, do I see menage a trois?
You sure do. You see a fussy hussy, a sloppy toppy, a chicken head, a PLT. They got a plantain, lettuce, and tomato. They got a side hoe, a super slut, a hoe boy, a big dog.
Boy.
Look, we can't get enough of this, but the beauty with this situation is, Slutty Vegan has really taken, entrepreneurship and business and branding. It's just amazing to see what they do. Yeah. And also, something important to know about this restaurant is that, they, everywhere they go, people are wrapped around the block.
Wait, did I see French fries on there? I mean, French fries they should have French fries on that.
Yeah, they definitely have French fries. Okay, they call them their skinny dippers.
Okay, a blackberry mayo sauce. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, everything that you see when it comes to Slutty Vegan, It's just a beautiful example of how someone took their idea and really tapped in at all levels. Doug is over here laughing at these names. Like this is amazing. And that's why, I appreciate so much more learning about this company and learning more about some of their activities out in the community. They definitely take advantage of all things branding as they go through their product lines and things of that sort. So, and when I tell you those lines are wrapped, like people are in line for 2-3 hours. 4
Sounds
hours.
really good. I have to stay away from them whole burgers. Yes, sounds good.
Oh man. So all in all, let's do some final thoughts on this. So Slutty Vegan LLC's giveaway, is it the gift that keeps on giving? To me, I think it is in two ways. It could be an extremely positive gift to someone, especially with the right supports in place, especially in the fact that right now everything that we do can be done online in many different ways. So someone giving you the money to start your LLC could really set you up for a great situation. My add-on would be definitely consult with an accountant. See if someone will do a free consult with you just to kind of talk about some things that you should be aware of. Mm-hmm. Consider that if you are going to make money, that you might want to have somebody on your team to make sure that you are paying the proper taxes, make sure that you are setting up the proper structures, make sure that you are accounting for your dollars and cents, and finding ways for you to save on your taxes. Because remember, you can purchase equipment for your business. You can go to trainings and charge it to your business. All of these different things that you have to do to run your business and grow your business and develop your staff. All of these things can be deductible items. You just have to sit with someone to make sure you understand. But the other side of it too is making sure that you do your homework. Entrepreneurship is a daily learning process, and you're never going to stop learning. You're always going to have more things to. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Lisa?
I am totally inspired by what the Slutty Vegan did with regard to all those graduates, giving them those LLCs to consider starting businesses. They're graduates. Maybe half of them or more may actually set up that business and start that business. So I'm very excited about that. And then the ones who don't, maybe down the line, by and by, they will set up a business. But we had the Entrepreneur Mindset Summit, which covered all those basic components that you're going to need to be successful in business. Your business has to be well-rounded. So just like Sandy and I said, you need the financial folks in there. You're going to need your marketing folks. If you don't know how to do it yourself, you're going to need marketing folks to help market and promote that business. You're going to need, who else, Sandy? You're going to need health, wellness, and that type of thing, because you can't overwork yourself to death. And you're going to have a nice, healthy work lifestyle balance. So all of those things that we talked about in that summit is really everything to make that LLC owner well-rounded as they get out there and work in their new businesses.
And you always got to do your shameless plugs for your business. So Lisa K. Crawford, we're going to go ahead and look at your business.
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate it, y'all. I'm Lisa K. Crawford. I've been a longtime attorney for about 30 years, but my current bread and butter mainly is my real estate business. I'm a broker associate with Amazing SoFlo Properties. I sell residential and commercial properties. I help people buy and sell, I should say. And I love working in real estate. It involves a lot of things like contracts, which I'm very familiar with, negotiating. Other than that, I still do practice law. I'm a probate and estate planning attorney. So if you need estate planning documents, I can help you with wills, trusts, powers of attorneys, and documents like that. And also I go to court and help people when someone dies and they need to have their loved one's estate administered through court. I help with those probate matters. And then finally, I am the esteemed one-half owner of LearnBiz LLC with my lovely partner, Sandy Boister. And I love what we do here because this is where I can just kind of woo-saw within my business, and just talk to other people and relate and help somebody else along. That's what it's all about. We're here to grow and develop and to share these experiences and bring other people along. And I get to do that with LearnBiz The Podcast. Thank you, Sandy.
So I am Sandy Boister, and as Lisa said, we created LearnBiz LLC as like the umbrella of all of these activities. So LearnBiz The Podcast is actually one of the first components of LearnBiz LLC that is really kind of hitting the mark for us. So we enjoy educating entrepreneurs because we're both attorney entrepreneurs, and Lisa is also a real estate entrepreneur. I am also an estate planning attorney where I handle estate planning, probate, and guardianship matters throughout the state of Florida. So if you have a family member that becomes unable to handle their own affairs, I assist the family through the guardianship court process. I also handle probate just like Lisa does. So when loved one passes away and you need to make sure that you finalize their affairs, I help with that. But I also enjoy primarily doing the estate planning, which is getting you to get your will, your power of attorney, your healthcare documents ready, getting people to understand the importance of trust and how they can be a great, valuable tool in your estate plan, educating people on real estate deeds in terms of enhanced life estate deeds, or what we call ladybird deeds, and how they can be a great estate planning tool. Yeah. But I also have a couple of other LLCs. I'm the co-founder of Civility Wins LLC. It is an entity that strives to educate professionals on ways to maintain your civility, no matter the nonsense that we deal with on a regular basis. As well, I am the co-founder of Spectrum Law Firm Miami, which is like my main gig, where I do my law practice. So, Lisa and I have been doing quite a bit in business over the years. We decided to join forces to make sure that we can share some of our experiences and then also bring some people to the table. So Please stay tuned. On Tuesday, we are going to be speaking with trademark and copyright attorney Niquosha Anderson about the Mariah Carey copyright infringement case. Now, look, y'all, I'm going to tell y'all as a precursor, I listened to these two songs and I'm like, they could not be further apart. So I'm really curious in seeing what attorney Anderson has to say about this copyright infringement, because I'm like, all I want for Christmas, that's Mariah all day. I don't care who sang it before her.
Right. That's just like when Elvis took out on Black people's music and people think Elvis and he started it all. Well, no, but that's what happens when people like the artist. It's like, you did all that. So they're looking at Mariah, but she didn't actually write the original song. But apparently, someone has a beef with her, and it's going to be interesting to get a copyright and trademark attorney in here to help us figure that out. I can't wait for that show, Sandy.
Look, we got a couple others coming with that. I'm looking to have us talk about the Honeypot Story. The Honeypot Company, it's a natural products company, and they were having an issue recently where some customers were accusing them of changing the ingredients and no longer being like plant-based, like all natural. And I was listening to an interview with the founders of the Honeypot Company, and they were like, people just go wildfire and they don't even really like ask questions. And, they were talking about some errors that were made in terms of spreading information about some changes that were done. But they're still like, we're still what we said we were from the beginning, but the story just ran like wildfire on social media. And, I definitely want us to talk about different experiences that businesses have.
That sounds very interesting. It reminds me of companies that change their products without letting the customers know, and they don't give you any headwind of these changes. And I'll tell you one other quickie that kind of bugs me when you go into stores. You notice how everything has been downsized and all the containers are smaller and you're getting less and you're paying more. Why does that bug me that these folks aren't even just telling people we're doing this, but they're just doing it?
Let me tell you, it's no different than when you go to the restaurants now, when you remember what the plate used to look like and they give you this little thing and you're like, what is that? Where's the rest of the food? Where's the rest of the food that used to be here on the plate? But that's a long story on the other side. But guys, we thank you so much for tuning in with us this morning for an early morning chat about Slutty Vegan LLC's giveaway, the gift that keeps on giving. It's a question mark, but honestly, we're going to follow up on this story and see if we can get a little bit more. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on Tuesday for Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas. is you. Have a good time, guys.
Bye.
Have a good day, guys.
Bye-bye.